Fair enough.
So nice to meet you, James. Uh, can you just say hello to Korean?
Hello, Korea.
Yeah,
Nice to be here.
예, 맞습니다. So,
This is actually the first time for me, so everything feels new and exciting, and I'm really enjoying myself so far. It's a
yeah.
very well-run country.
Come forward.
Yeah, I'd like to have gone to that one. That was the only CoinGeek conference I've missed, and I think it was a wedding or some other personal engagement right around there, so I couldn't make it, unfortunately.
다음번에는 꼭 빠뜨리지 않으시길 바랍니다.
All right. So we got a week packed full of two conferences, lots of meetings, some networking, and hopefully some friend building. So yeah, we had lots of interviews, and we're going to be doing some dinners tonight, traveling different parts of the country, or move into different places for different conferences, and we might be going to the DMZ as well as a little single day to go check that out. That's the main thing, yeah. And there's a few people that I've been getting to know over the last few years in Korea that are sort of BSV advocates and interested in working with us. So we've got some meetings and lunches and stuff to kind of work on some plans and hopefully kind of start bringing BSV to the Korean market in a way that's.
Should visit again for that.
I will have to, yeah.
Absolutely,
That's a good
yeah.
point. So I'm an electrical engineer by trade. So I worked in the oil and gas industry, doing design, procurement, construction type stuff. So worked on like big oil refineries, like brand new ones. Worked on gas compressor stations. So when you're moving natural gas across the country in pipelines, you gotta have compressor stations that pump the gas up. And I worked on ports for coal stockyards, where you put the coal before you're loading onto the boat. Things like that. It's a big, heavy industry. Yeah, it's good. And it was all in Australia. It took me around the country. It was a good job. Did it for 7 years, but wasn't ultimately want to do something more entrepreneurial. And BSV or Bitcoin always caught my eye, going back to 2012. And so I was looking for an opportunity to try and get involved at some point, and felt the time was right in 2017, 2018, and Tokenized was my way of contributing.
Blockchain or Bitcoin industry.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, from a technical point of view, electrical engineers and computer engineers have the same program for the most part in Vancouver. So I took a lot of computer engineering classes, a lot of the foundational elements and software development and things like that. So I'm pretty technical. But I always, even going back to my young teens, I always had a very strong interest in economics, philosophy, business, and finance. And so I always read a lot on it in my personal time, and I actually came across the idea of cyber cash in an economic forecasting book when I was about 14, and it kind of talked about the internet, cryptography, the possibility of this cyber cash emerging that was independent of states. And so that was really intriguing to me when I read that at the time, and I remember thinking quite a lot about it. And then so fast forward to 2012 when I came across Bitcoin for the first time, it kind of like clicked for me. So like this is that cyber cash. Like someone's figured it out, right? And so very, very intriguing. And I was so busy with my career at the time that I couldn't really put a lot of time into learning about it. But I was watching it from afar and reading as much as I could. And then as I saw it progress and the price go up and people got more excited about it, I felt like it had a really good shot of making an impact. And so that's when I basically decided to quit my job and get involved and try and make a contribution. So before 2018, you mean? Like what was
That's
I
right.
doing?
Yeah.
So I was oil and gas industry up until 2000. Yeah, not quite. I did some stuff with my family for a little while. My dad's got a bunch of businesses, but pretty much oil and gas industry right up to the end. But I did lots of reading on Bitcoin, but I never got involved in the community. I never posted. I never got involved in chat groups. It was always just reading from afar and kind of just keeping tabs on it. And then 2018 is then I really dove in and started going into all the Reddit groups and chat groups and reading everything I could.
Okay. Okay. So At the time, did you invest in some?
Yeah, I invested a good bit in 2012.
I understand. No more question about that.
Say again?
So, yeah, may people might curious about that, but yeah, no more question about that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's a private thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tokenized is all. Basically, what my thinking was when I thought about Bitcoin and the opportunity it presented was that this sort of distributed ledger that didn't have any political risk in it and didn't have any organizational risk was very compelling for commercial records. So commercial records are really, the records that form the details around commerce, right? So paying for things, sending orders, rectifying mistakes, things like that, right? So these core records that kind of underpin commerce, I thought that was a natural fit for it, and there was a lot of value to be had by having it as the core data layer. But then when I thought about how do you make a business out of this, how do you really push things forward? Because to really do a successful business, I think at least at scale, it has to be really, really compelling. It can't just be a little bit compelling. It has to be, like as Peter Thiel sort of describes, it has to be like 10x better than existing solutions. So that's where my mind went to. I sort of like, how do you get something that's really, really, really compelling? And that's where I felt like for commercial records, the biggest value proposition differential was actually the contracts in the private markets. So and the main focus is the financial contracts in the private markets. So that's where a digital transformation has not been done before. It's poorly digitized, and basically I just felt like that was something I could put together a platform and a product that would be a 10x improvement for people using it. So that was my kind of thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, so at a very simplistic analysis or comparison, you're looking at just tokens, let's say, and their performance, some of the features around it, and the cost. So I think those are kind of the key ideas at just a token level. And so we're operating the BSV network, which we think is the most efficient, most performant base layer that can do it all and can scale to the levels it needs to be and has the economies of scale that make it most compelling. We also have a very efficient protocol that really only stores what you need on the chain in the most compact, efficient manner as possible. So we put a huge amount of effort into using symbols and a very slick protocol to make that cheap and effective. And then we've got a very flexible protocol that kind of mirrors how Bitcoin works in terms of inputs and outputs. So scripts and things like that to hold tokens. That means that you can have very flexible locking scripts and conditions to hold tokens. Also means you can have many inputs and outputs, many parties involved. You can have atomic swaps. You can have atomic swaps with many instruments and many parties involved. So a lot of flexibility there. And then when it comes to the protocol that's more broad, which not a lot of other protocols really even try to do, is that we're trying to tackle contracts and we're trying to transform them and do a digital transformation of them to make them more automated, more accessible, make them more trustful. And so we really dive into the specifics of debt instruments, let's say. So if you have a debt agreement, what are the interest payments? What are the benchmarks for if it's a variable floating rate? What are the consequences if you don't make a payment or if there's a late payment and things like that. So all those details get codified to make the software be able to make sense of them and to make everyone that's involved in those contracts be able to quickly ascertain the details that they are relevant to them and make sure everything was done correctly or that they fulfilled their obligations well. So our scope is much bigger than most token protocols, and we think this is like the correct way to think about the problem. You really need to include the contract in the fold, and then we even take it further when you think about like amendments and governance and resolutions and things like that. So if you're a token holder and it represents shares or something like along those lines, if all the other token holders vote to change something critical about the company or your rights as a token holder or shareholder, you want to be able to see when that vote took place, who actually voted for what, was your vote recorded properly, and then what the impact was, right? So those are kind of really important things for a holder to have. And so our protocol allows for that, allows for all that to be done on chain. It allows you to use your tokens to sign or authorize votes. and then the smart contract controls the rules around who can vote, how much votes count for, when they can vote. So our protocol is very expansive and comprehensive, but when you start to understand why we've drawn the scope the way we have, it's because that's where you can bring the most value into the fold. You can really create a really digital experience across the life cycles of these contracts in a way that no one else has really tried to do, or very few people have. And then having it on a blockchain with Bitcoin just enhances the value prop significantly for all those processes. Yeah, so this is kind of one of my early days when I was doing the research phase. It became really clear to me during that period when I was looking at all the different blockchains and proposals and arguments that Bitcoin was really well thought through. Like the original vision for it had a lot of engineering and detail and thought put into every single parameter choice and every little design element, and that when people had decided to create their own spin-offs or derivative networks or competitors, what I found when I looked at them was they didn't really understand Bitcoin to begin with, and they made rookie mistakes in terms of assumptions about how things should work or why they work in certain ways. And so they really created competitors that were just worse right away, and pretty obviously worse when you understood what was going on. And a lot of these problems don't emerge until you get to more significant scale. So it may appear that you've got a better job than Bitcoin now when you're not really being used, but when it gets to big throughput, like tens of thousands, millions of transactions a second, those design choices are incredibly important. That's one thing is we just kind of realized that Bitcoin was the one that was the most performant, could do the job, was the best, most well thought through, but also that it could do everything. We thought that there was only room for one blockchain. It doesn't make sense to have more than one. It's kind of antithetical to the idea of having multiple sources of truth. You only really need one source of truth, and that's where a lot of the benefits come from. And because it can do it all, and it can scale, and it can do all the smart contracts and all the things that people think blockchain should be capable for or have imagined being useful for, it can do it all anyways. That we think that economies of scale will come into play. So not only do you only need one blockchain and that it's antithetical to the value proposition, but one will start to emerge as just more competitive. It will be able to offer cheaper, and it will gain the critical mass, and that it'll just ultimately be cheaper and better and faster and more stable. So there's those confluence of opinions kind of gave us reason to believe that one was going to win, and that we thought the Bitcoin vision, the one that followed Bitcoin closest, was going to have the best chance of it. And then the Bitcoin SV community in particular has a lot of merit in it, in the sense that I think most of the thought leaders and key people in the space have better judgment when it comes to technical decisions, and when it comes to product decisions, and when it comes to business in general. They have a better understanding of the world. They have a better vision for things, a better approach to how to do things. Whereas when I find to look at the other protocols and networks, the communities around them have got kind of silly political notions and ideologies involved, and it's confusing, and they're not pragmatic when it comes to utility and things like that. So yeah. I think those are the kind of key factors.
Yeah, I agree.
So our main strategy is we just want to be the technical platform. We don't want to be an issuer. We don't want to be a regulated entity. So we don't want to do the compliance side of things and the regulated functions. So we just want to be a pure platform that's designed to service global issuers and global regulated entities and global holders in the best possible way. We put a lot of time and effort into getting the design right. So there's lots of key features that are really hotly contested and haven't really been decided upon, with different risks, like even like non-custodial key management, and like how the key architecture works in terms of PKI and privacy, and all these like kind of really fundamental ideas we really grappled with and kind of put together what we think is going to be useful both in the short term and long term, and compliant and useful to everyone. And so we want to just be that really technical service provider and work with, plug into all kinds of businesses that can use it, take advantage of it, and create a much better user experience for their customers, as well as sort of everyone more generally. Being able to have finance be more passportable and more secure and more flexible, with more options available to you. Yes, we're targeting, everywhere, but realistically, we're speaking to quite a few European companies and customers, American, Australian, British, I guess, part of European's a big one, Germany. a little bit of Japan, but not much. China a little bit. Korea,
Yeah.
from discussions we've had before, and lots of other discussions, as well as what I've seen so far. And I expect that Singapore as well. So these sort of more financially sophisticated countries tend to have more interest in it. But yeah, we're targeting everywhere. We think it's, even in Africa, we've got projects going on, or soon to be coming on there. But it's mostly the bigger, sophisticated, financially sophisticated countries that are probably going to be looking at this first and be most interested, and then we'll go from there. So it is confusing, and I kind of regret the naming a little bit now. But the Tokenized protocol was the protocol that we entered into the contests, the N-Chain CoinGeek contests. So we won £5 million for that. It's kind of like an X Prize style. But it was part of the contest agreement to be open source, so anyone can build on it. And so our protocol remains open source today if you use on BSV, and all the implementations that are critical to actually working, so decoding or encoding, decoding, and smart contract agent, and some other like supported stuff, identity oracles, things like that, and interfaces are all open source and available on our repo, and also available on people's repos that have kind of forked it and things like that. That's always going to be the case. We think that's the right approach. We'll never change that, and we want to compete with other companies in a way where its protocol is more like email, SMTP protocol, right? So we think of Tokenized like Gmail, but anyone can create their own Hotmail or competitor or private Proton Mail, and so that's kind of how we think this is going to be, and it makes the most sense. And it ultimately serves our customers well, because it means that for their most critical records, you know, their coins or their holdings and contracts, there's no vendor lock-in. So they're not beholden to us with their data. They can move to other wallets and other platforms at will, without our permission even. And that's kind of the benefits and beauty of blockchain and open source protocols, which we think is important. Just to keep building is what I mean. I want to build some companies that I really got some problems that I want to solve. That I won't share exactly, but I got a whole plan of different things I want to solve over time, and Tokenized is my focus for years to come, for sure. But that's one thing. And then I want to just travel a lot and spend time with family and friends as much as I can, and keep building cool stuff. That's what we're doing. Keep doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're almost ready to launch. The Troy Money app is basically ready. So it has 6 different assets, I think, we'll launch with, something like that. So silver, palladium, gold, platinum. And then they got a bunch of stable coins they're coming out with, US dollar, I think, start, and euro and things like that. So that's the technical side, and product side is pretty much ready. There's just some details we're just tweaking on in terms of pricing, like fees and things like that. Garrett, I think, is now settled on a business model now. He's got all the figures and how he's going to make money and how it's going to work over time. And now we're just getting ready to update the website, launch, and get the last legal details, terms and conditions ready, so that it all kind of hangs together and makes sense. So I don't know exactly, because he's the one running it, so we're just helping him. But I would guess in the next few weeks, something like that. Yeah, I mean, so I think it's a very exciting time right now. There's a lot going on in the space, but I think if you see what I see, that the die has been cast, that Bitcoin and BSV is on its way to winning the whole prize, and that Ethereum and BTC and Ripple, they're not going to be around in 10 years' time, and one's going to take it all. And there's a lot of exciting momentum behind BSV at the moment that I don't see anywhere else. The energy is totally different, the passion is totally different, the concrete results are totally different. And I think Korea is, well, I've only been here for a day, so I can't say too much about it, but I've really enjoyed myself so far, and I really like how the country sort of put together. It feels like a really good engineering culture, and the opportunity is there. Get involved now. The timing could be better, and the longer you leave it, the worse the upside is, the more competitive it becomes. So yeah, I look forward to meeting more of you in the next few days, and hopefully catching up over a beer or some other meetups. But yeah, that's all I've got to say.